DT's here. Trent? Dr. Simmons? DT? Glad seeing you. I didn't see you sitting over there. They say go. I guess they did. Did he do the countdown? Countdown's done? Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the Board of Managers meeting Thursday, October the 10th. I appreciate everyone being here. I would like to call on our chaplain, Ms. Leanne Franklin. I saw, there she is. And to please give us the opening prayer. And if you join me in the pledge of the flag, I'd appreciate it very much. Leanne.
Thank you. So great to have everybody here. Nice, cool weather. Enjoying it? Yes. Well, I love having all the community here. I want to tell you just what happened yesterday real quick. The theme of this is it takes all of us. Yesterday, I was on Tower 9. We had a patient here who's been homeless, and she came and she loves JPS, doesn't want to leave, but she needed to leave. Very sorry, it's not a place where you can stay forever. So she was scared to death. She has some dementia. Was scared to death to go. She wanted to go out in the street if she had to leave, but we had to take her to another care facility. Did not want to go. So just imagine this picture. We've got a fourth-year resident. We've got all her nurses, her social worker, her chaplain, and then the transport people all forming a circle around her, praying for her. Music was playing, and then we escorted her all the way from her room to the elevator to down. And I just say that because it takes all of us, all of the community, all of us together. And so thank you all for being here and for doing what you do. With that, let us pray. Most Holy One, we come before you today in a spirit of gratitude and humility. Gratitude for the privilege of serving your people, and humility as we contemplate the magnitude of all JPS is called to do. And so we ask you for hope to light the way, for wisdom to guide our steps, for unity to prevail, and for joy to be at the heart of all we do. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Leanne, thank you very much, and thank you all again for being here today, which will take us to the next item. Is there any citizens wishing to speak? I was advised earlier there wasn't any. There being none, we will move forward to item number 4 on the agenda, which is approval of the September 12th minutes, which were provided previously. If there's any discussion, we'd have it this time. If not, or any corrections, if not, I'd entertain a motion for approval. A motion by Dr. Weber, second by Mr. Zimmerman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. No, thank you very much. I'm going to make my comments brief today because we've got a lot of other business to handle. I just want to say, as always, it's a pleasure to represent this organization. I had the pleasure this week, it's the 71st meeting of the Dallas-Fort Worth Hospital Council's annual meeting, and on behalf of JPS, I was there to represent us. So I want to say thank you for that opportunity. I wish I could tell you I was off in some beautiful place in Hawaii or halfway around the world, but I was in Irving, Texas. So again, I was glad to be there and represent this organization. So Robert, I'm going to pass on to you for any comments you may have before we get into the other action items.
You bet. One of the things I think should be noted is that your spiritual guidance and your spiritual leader is such a powerful person. She turns to y'all and says, isn't it great that it's a cool front has come through? It's 89 degrees and y'all like, yay! It's snowing in Denver right now. So let's put weather in perspective, but that's the power of Leanne Franklin. She can get y'all to agree to anything. And that's what she does for us too. And that's a wonderful person to have in this organization, that she gives us so much guidance and so much direction, which we appreciate so much. I want to thank our district attorney, Sharon Wilson, for being here today and being in the audience. And she has brought with her Leslie Hunt. Leslie is going to head up the team for the new civil division, the civil division. She is the new leader of that. So, Leslie, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it very, very much. And Sharon, thank you for coming by. You're always welcome at these meetings. And Leslie, we look forward to working with you and your efforts to help out the hospital district and all that we do. So we appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. A couple things. We had a great couple of weeks here at JPS because we were able we had Commissioner Fickus was able to be there, and Mr. Montgomery. I know some of y'all had some really tough schedules, but we had the ability to open up our new 12 additional beds in our emergency department, which was great. And when the meeting gets done today, I think we'll probably, maybe if y'all have enough time, go by. I'd be happy to take you all by and let you look. We do have, obviously it's open and we have people in there today, but it's wonderful. And it's been great to just give any space to an overutilized, very full emergency department. And not only those 12 rooms, but we have an additional space for seating situation for people to be in there. And I think when y'all go down and see it, you'll be impressed with what we were able to do and what Angie Morgan and her team was able to do, because it's pretty impressive. And I'm very thankful. We had the North Texas Giving Day. Many of you know that that's a collective group of being able to call in, easily swipe on a card, and be able to give money to JPS on JPS Giving Day. We were able this year to raise $48,308, and I don't want to give up on the $8. We were shooting for 10, but we got $48,000, which is powerful. That's more than we've ever been able to raise on a single day. And I think that speaks to JPS and where we are. And for us, that means a lot. I know some might be able to do other things, but we're proud of what we get at JPS. And that's going to go directly back to a lot of the care and the services that our patients might need that kind of fall outside of areas that we routinely give them care for. So that was a wonderful situation. I'm very happy for that. We also had the ability, and this was a sort of a happenstance situation. There were some chairs, they're reclining type chairs, they're specially made chairs that are used for cancer patients. And the Herman Miller Furniture Company of North America called and said they had some chairs and they didn't fit an order, and would there be any way that we might be able to use these brand new chairs that maybe wasn't the color that the buyer thought they were. We were down at their warehouse in 7.5 seconds. We had them loaded in our vehicle and brought to JPS, and that was wonderful. It's about $47,000 worth of additional care to our cancer patients to make them feel better. I know I'm not trying to describe a reclining chair in that manner, but it is very special for where your arms, your elbows go, where the chemotherapy unit goes, anything else that you have there. It makes a big difference for the care of our patients. So it was really wonderful to have that gift, and that gift literally came out of the sky. It was just a phone call, and we said yes. We didn't know what the chairs looked like. We just said yes, we'll take them. So that was great. The other thing that is kind of nice, we have a communications team that works really, really hard. You know, it's headed up by our Vice President, Diana Brodeur. Diana, as you well know, started her career in Chicago. Not sure why you would do that, but she did. And she came quickly down from Chicago and joined us. She had a television background and then joined NBC5. And we were fortunate enough to win the following awards in design, and those are some of the communications that we had. We were one of only 5 at the division that won 4 awards. So it's pretty powerful for our communication team and Diana Brodeur and the team that she has. So really, really proud of her. Diana's in the audience.
Have her stand up back there.
Thank you,
She's
Diana
very
Brodeur.
bad. Thanks, Diana. The nice thing about that, and Mr. Powell is always so kind in giving JPS recognition when it deserves its recognition, but we were competing with what one would be traditionally called the big folks, big ad agencies and big marketing firms, and we pulled off 4 awards. So I'm really proud of the team, and that's just a
little bit of recognition. I know Pastor Emerson will comment about some of the things that we put out, which we're grateful for, but it's like, hey, what are, are we getting that recognition? And this is a time where we did.
Yeah.
And we were in a national stage having JPS's name mentioned one more time, which is really good. So that's pretty much, Mr. Chair, what I have for y'all today. I don't know if at this point you want me to mention, and this might be helpful to some of y'all in the audience, we have an agenda item, if it's appropriate
Yes,
for
go
me
ahead.
to say at this
That'd be
time. Agenda item 10D,
Right.
that may have been the reason that some of you all came. It may have been the reason that you woke up in just a splendid mood this morning, and I don't mean to dampen your moods, but 10D was intended to be on our planning committee. It will not be taken up today. So we gave you potentially false hope, and I don't mean to, although many of the faces that I see in the audience have become regular members for us. We look forward to you all being here 8 and 9 years after the bond, too, and coming to all of our bond meetings and board meetings. But that was truly inadvertently put on. It is not going to be a discussion item today. And I would like to comment on that. We are establishing and have had, quite frankly, a really good relationship with our Commissioners Court. I think we had the joint meeting between the court and us. I think we got a lot of things discussed. Thought a lot of good points were brought up. Zim, your comments on let's be realistic on everything that we have and what we're doing and where we're going, I think was helpful. Questions we had, the commissioners' concerns and their interests were all well taken, and I thought the meeting went very well. There's not going to be a step that we as staff make that's not going to go through a planning committee process, that's not going to go through a board, that's not going to go through a commissioner's court. I think we can all sort of desensitize and realize we're not only going to do the right thing, we're going to do it in a proper manner. So to that point, we are having weekly meetings with Mr. Manius and the staff, person by the name of Ms. South. She is there, and Mr. Phillips, David Phillips, is part of that. Megan South and David Phillips attended the meeting along with GK to talk about where we are and what we're trying to begin to consider so that we can then get that through the proper manner at planning. This is at its very base of discussion. And in that, and I want to talk to you as board members, but Pastor, your concerns, the concerns of Commissioner Brooks and Fickus and others will be taken into consideration the best possible way we can. And we're just working on very preliminary aspects of that. And I will tell you that the meeting we had last Monday with all of them went exceptionally well. And everybody left that meeting thinking this is a very good, positive, forward progress. So I know that Mr. Manius is going to give an update to the court on Tuesday, which I think will be helpful. And I'll continue to communicate to y'all and do it through the proper method and manner. And hopefully we won't miss any steps at all to do that. We want to be as fair. We want to be as transparent. We want to make sure that we do it in the right manner so that first and foremost, our patients win. At the end of the day, it's all about our patients, and we want to make sure that they get the best that they can possibly do. We want to be thankful to our community members that supported our bond package. And we want to make sure that we're giving you as staff the needed input that you need as board members, and you're giving us the needed input so that we can do it right.
Are there minutes of those meetings?
There are minutes of those meetings. There are probably notes to those meetings, and we'll be happy to get those notes to you, sort of the bullet points of what we did. I want to describe it fairly. I don't know if we call them minutes, but we would describe them the bullet points of those meetings, and be happy to get those to you. And share it with all the board members as well. And we'll share that with the court members as well. There's nothing in there that wouldn't be discussed.
And you can hear a good summary Tuesday, I think, when GK talks.
So that pretty much is my report. Again, I thank you all in the audience for coming, and I do apologize if any of you specifically came, left your vacation in Hawaii because you saw that agenda item, but we will keep you informed as best as possible. But the one thing y'all in the audience need to know, nothing's going to be done premature, and nothing's going to be done without everybody pretty much in the Western Hemisphere and the world knowing we're doing it. That's our goal. So.
Thank you, Robert. You know, I'm glad you took the credit for removing 10D, because I've been out in the parking lot charging them $100 a parking spot to park. So, so the foundation could raise more money on giving day. So,
good.
anyway, thanks, Robert, for that report. You know, I'd be remiss also, they're back there hiding. I know Leslie. Leslie, congratulations again. And I know Robert wants to be nice to the DA, and I do too. I see Sharon sitting back there again. Thank y'all for your attendance. Moving right along, actually, I skipped number 5. I guess in there, 5A. You know, I've had the pleasure of being vice chair of this board 2 years prior to then serving 3 years as chair. And so, as I think we all know, and there's several former chairmen on this board, you know, we occupy this seat. We really work as a team. And so as we start now to the next timeline, it is time to form a nominating committee. And as chair, I get that privilege. And for the next set of officers for nominations, and it's a recommendation back to this board. The board still obviously controls ultimately the approval process, but I've asked Reverend Emerson, I've asked Ralph to chair that committee, and I've asked Trent and Amanda to serve on that committee. And they will be doing their work, and they will be getting back to us with those recommendations, hopefully at the November board meeting. So I appreciate each one of y'all agreeing to serve. So thank y'all very much for that. And getting past that, we will get some of our action items. We're going to move on the agenda to number 7, and it's a report from the medical executive staff. It says Dr. Schrader. I'm glad to say that Dr. Hurd's here. Not that Dr. Schrader is not welcome. I talked to him. He's out of state.
Correct.
But we certainly appreciate you being here, Dr. Hurd. So floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and my apologies for being a few minutes late. This first item here for consideration was that the OMFS department had requested an additional privilege for robotic assisted system. It was vetted through the credentialing committee as well as MEC. It's just an additional paragraph. No changes to their current privilege card other than the additional paragraph of the robotic assisted systems. It's on page 6 of their privileging cards. Simple paragraph showing what the criteria are for meeting the privileges as well as the reappointment criteria. And we would just respectfully request that the board approve this.
Is there any discussion, Dr. Hurd? If not, I'd entertain a motion. I've got a motion by Mrs. DeBose, a second by Dr. Weber. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Which will now move us along to item number 8, which is the acclaim update. Anything there? Michael, Dr. Hotchberg's back there. I will wait for him to come up. Yeah, Michael, come on up. So. All right. Well, welcome again. Floor is all yours.
Thank you. I've worn my best purple and green in honor of the Joker movie, but I've decided not to do the face paints.
Okay, good.
Didn't want to freak out too many people. I have 4 items on my agenda to bring forward and discuss. The first one is a request that came through Reverend Emerson regarding the provider diversity within acclaim, and so I did want to bring forward some of those results as we did our review. And so I have that broken down into gender, ethnicity, as well as generation. So from a gender perspective, and we're talking about 480 providers that we have in acclaim. So gender, 65% are female, 35% are male. From an ethnicity status, 54% are white or Caucasian, 26% Asian, 10% Black or African American, and 7% Hispanic or Latino. And then from a generational perspective, 45% are classified as millennials, 33% as Gen X, and 19% as baby boomers. Item 2. So I am very pleased to announce that Acclaim received 100% of our attributable MIPS for our Medicare programs. So a very high level of kudos to the entire Acclaim team, as well as our IT folks to help with getting that data out, and that generates approximately, it's worth a little bit over $100,000 to Acclaim. And for those that don't know, MIPS is a series of quality metrics that Medicare looks at that then allows some payment towards for physicians or provider groups. It can be independent physicians can be part of the MIPS program. We obviously do it as a group under the entire Acclaim umbrella. But not many organizations achieve the 100% attribution, and so a real high-level kudos to Acclaim. Item 3, so the next 2 items are really were on your consent agenda that I wanted to bring forward just to bring attention to. One of them is actually listed as underneath my Acclaim report, but is a consent agenda, and it's a very pleased to announce that Dr. Tsai, Linda Tsai, who many of us know and appreciate during her many years of service throughout Tarrant County and what she has served on the various medical boards and medical societies, was nominated by the Acclaim Physician Board to serve as a member of the Acclaim Physician Board. They voted, approved that, and the Acclaim Executive Committee approved her nomination as well. And she will be slated to start this month at our next Acclaim Physician Board, which is towards the end of the month. And so Dr. Linda Tsai will bring a significant depth of experience and knowledge and know-how, and certainly a deep-seated passion to the JPS mission to our Acclaim Physician Board. The second item on the consent agenda that I wanted to bring forward to everybody's attention is an item related to a product called Arcadia. And so this is a platform that we have discussed in a variety of different venues, most notably during the budget planning and the budget approval process, and when Sharon graciously sits up here and gives her report as well. Arcadia is our population health software that we have been talking about. It is meant to really begin to drive an understanding around risk, utilization, quality. It is a claims-based product, so it's going to pull data from our connection populations, our Medicare Advantage programs, as well as putting information from Epic. We'll be able to marry this data to the cost accounting system, which is Strata, which will allow us to have a full 360 view of that JPS connection population, so we can supply all the information that the board requires, but most critically be able to truly manage them throughout the entire continuum of the life cycle of care here at JPS. We are already budgeted in the implementation cost, as well as in year 1, that was already approved in the fiscal year 20 budget. Years 2 through 5, it is a 5-year program, are obviously unbudgeted because of our how we do our budgets. But we do have a funding clause in there that should, funding be lost, that we would be able to get out of that contract at a substantially reduced cost. This was a year-long vetting process under Acclaim to identify the right product that understands our healthcare system. And I am very pleased to say that when Arcadia first came on site, the first time I met them a year ago, they understood our connection population better than anybody else. They nailed it, and they said, oh, you're 100% at risk for that patient population. And no other company, and we brought in some very sizable, large industry leaders into that discussion, understood it as well as they did. And I think that's in large part because one of their largest clients is Boston Medical Center in Boston, which is the Boston Public Safety Net Hospital, and a very nationally renowned healthcare system. And so we think that they will bring a very strong like-mindedness to our institution to help drive us forward into the next phase of our delivery mechanisms here at JPS.
Any other questions for Michael?
Yeah, I have,
Yes, Ralph.
the data that you gave in reference to the diversity.
Yep.
If we could get a copy of that.
Absolutely.
The other is, what the info that you gave us, is that a part of the info that we get from HR and the diversity? Is that inclusive in their numbers also?
So that I'm not sure. I've had to ask, and P would have to answer if their numbers incorporate the acclaim.
Diana's there?
No.
She's just walking out, following her.
So this information, what I will answer is this information came from Pia's team in HR. So it's culled. The information I gave you came from Pia's team.
Right, okay.
Ralph, the question is, we're not double counting them, but we're making sure they're
Right, I
counted in
just
the
didn't
total.
want to,
Okay.
I was trying to find, that's not a
Gotcha.
separate number that you gave us today, outside of the whole JPS network.
So I gave you the specific to the breakdown of the acclaim providers. So the
Yeah.
480 providers that we have directly employed in acclaim, that is their diversity breakdown.
But it's not included in the overall district, I think, Ralph, is, yeah. Pia would have that information.
Pia
though,
would have that
That's fine.
information.
You okay?
Ralph, isn't that what you asked for?
Yes.
In a claim, correct.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for Michael?
Quick one.
Yes.
Do you think that Amanda and I looked at each other kind of in shock with the age breakdown? Is that similar to other healthcare systems or hospitals?
In terms of more millennials and
Yeah.
Gen X. That's the workforce that's coming in. That's, coming out of graduating medical
Coming out of
school
schools.
now. That's graduating from their APP programs. So that's an influx into the marketplace.
Sounds like we better be a little more nice to millennials.
Well, if you walk down the hall here, you will feel old.
Thank you.
Anyway. Michael, thank you. One item we'd like to clarify on 8A, even though it was a recommendation, and both Dr. Weber and myself attended the September 23rd executive, it's on the agenda. If there's any discussion, fine. If not, on Dr. C, I'd like to have a motion from the board, so it will be in the board minutes as approved.
So
I'll move
So I have a motion by, I got so many motions here, I'm not sure, Dr. Weber, and a second by Mr. Fisher. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much. Michael, thank you very much. That way we'll avoid any misunderstanding on that one. Next, we come to our committees, the first one being quality, and Dr. Weber, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, let me, if I may, take a couple minutes. The committee met on the 5th of September. There were 2 items for discussion, nothing that required approval. The first one was PS 190, which is the Patient Safety and Adverse Effects Program. Overall, we're meeting our goals, but there are 3 areas that we are falling a little bit short right now, which is respiratory failure, sepsis, and deep venous thrombosis and/or pulmonary embolism. The second presentation was sort of on the quality journey, and it has been a journey because I think we're finally getting a relatively mature quality program up and running. We've had some missteps, some steps that the history doesn't matter too much, except we can always build on it. And the quality journey essentially is to create and encourage a proactive, open environment that will ask the questions of why and how and build on our past successes. And as part of that, there's a bunch of tactics that are listed, and the group has redesigned the quality committee structure, et cetera. Michael heads it, and Rob Stevenson is the interim person right now. I hope that he'll become permanent, but I don't know. There is global healthcare vulnerability that we always have to be aware of. And there was some committee modernization that came out of the quality initiatives. And one is the Patient Safety Council. Just as a summary, a few months ago, the board approved the overall document. If you don't have it, we'll get it for you, because in there, it tells you exactly what steps to go through for problems, et cetera. There was some committee modernization and updates. They reformed the Quality Council. is now having a Patient Safety Council. The Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee was redesigned. A moderate sedation committee was in process. Moderate sedation is receiving IV drugs that sort of knock you out, but you do not lose control of your airway, et cetera. It's not exactly anesthesia, it's sort of a step toward. The key is you are in control of your breathing, et cetera. They've added a committee, which is the High-Risk Surgery Committee. There are 16 projects underway right now that are designed to prevent potential harm to any of our patients. We feel that the main goal for any of our patients to understand is it's going to be a safe environment. There were some projects related to the quality measures that we've talked about before, other than these 16 projects, and these are falls, infections after colon surgery, hysterectomies, joint replacements, CAUTIs, which is urinary tract infections, and CLABSI, which is catheter related. And we've discussed all those for a long time, and DVT. The priority initiatives for us, number one is hand hygiene, which goes further than anything else in preventing infections. The second is a culture of safety throughout the whole organization. And then the third thing was the high-risk surgical cases. And then the last thing was preparation for the mock Joint Commission survey that everybody attended. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about it.
We did have a mock Joint Commission review. That is in preparation for when the Joint Commission does come. I think we want to take every precaution and preparation that we possibly can. It went exceptionally well. We're now calculating what they had to say, and we'll get further information to you, but it was a very good review. Again, it's just a mock review. Don't want to get any false hopes that we're all ready to go, but that review of what they saw that day was good, and we appreciated Dr. Weber attending the final review of that. It was nice to have the quality chair there, and I think it was helpful for you as well. It was a good response that we got from the team.
Don't forget, they call themselves the Joint Commission.
Yeah, the Joint Commission, and they all went to The Ohio State University.
Yes, exactly. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Weber. Finance, actually talked to Steve. He's in Austin. But Sharon, if you'd come up and give our financial summary, appreciate it very much. And I will say, as Sharon's coming up, I noted last month, all 11 board members, know how busy everybody's schedules are. Last month, we had all 11 board members here. I got on to talk to Steve earlier this morning. I said he's actually at a healthcare conference in Austin. And I shunned him pretty good by saying, well, you're going to break our 11 today. So that's where he is. Sharon, all yours.
All right, good afternoon. A quick review of our financial performance in August. We actually missed budget slightly on the bottom line there from operations. You can see we had budgeted to come in right at $924,000. We came in at 327, and the main reason for that is each month our payer mix, what percentage of our patients that come in are self-pay versus commercial versus Medicare changes. And we had a pretty good run of a nice payer mix, a favorable payer mix. And for the month of August, it was slightly negative. And that cost us about $1 million worth of collections for that 1 month. So, in my opinion, no alarms are going off. It just happened to be one of the ebbs and flows of our payer mix. A claim had a slightly behind budget month, but they did come in at 1.6 million compared to a 1.5 million budget. And from a consolidated standpoint, obviously we were not meeting budget for this 1 month, given the other two organizations. but we did come in at a loss of 1.4 million. Again, the important number is gonna be over at the right of your screen. There's little controls over here that I can't circle the number, but if you go to the total column for the year, and this is 11 months, ended August, we came in at $6.5 million positive. We actually had budgeted a loss of $14 million for that year. If you recall last month when I presented budget and you approved it, thank you for your support on that. We were able to budget on a consolidated basis, a break-even budget, and actually put $12 million on the bottom line, and that's our projection for 2020. So to me, that's a really important message that we have been able to break even from operations this year, given the budget constraints that we dealt with in 19. So if there's no other questions, that was the end of my report.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Sharon, there seems to be a significant switch in the foundation for the month of August. Is that a time when they're paying out more money?
It is. So accounting on a foundation is not necessarily intuitive. We record all of the revenue when it comes in, whether it's restricted or not. And we record the expense, even if you gave money for an ultrasound, it probably wouldn't be purchased in the same month. So that's really a timing thing. So you can see that those expenditures were pretty large and their other operating expenses. And that's just us buying the equipment that was designated as a gift.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Sharon? All right, Sharon,
Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much. Appreciate your report. Which brings us to the human resources. I know y'all's committee met.
Yes, we did meet on the 26th, and we spent a lot of time discussing the annual incentive goals. They're not a part of the packet, but we are reducing, we were adding some, taking some off. They will be, I guess, at our November meeting, where we will have the matrix and everything on it. But we were, for the long-term incentive, we were keeping the same matrix, but we are making some changes on the annual one, okay? And that's about it. It took up a lot of time, but it was a good discussion.
Busy time of year in HR, thanks to our committee. Any other questions for Dorothy? If not, we'll move on to the action items, which will go to item number 10A. Consider approval of the 2020 board committees calendar. That was in your package. If there's any questions, when you vote, you guarantee you will be here every one of those board meetings. And the minutes will sort of reflect that. So, but if there's nothing peculiar to what we do every year, I'd entertain a motion for approval. No, you're not going to get a vote. Yeah,
You're not gonna get dead silence.
hello. I'll take that as a motion, too. Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Chairman, and I have a second by Dr. Weber. All those favors say aye. I appreciate it very much. We're going to come back and discuss item number 10B and 10C after any discussion in closed, and we've already pulled 10D. So that would bring us at this point in time to the 11, which is a consent agenda. Prior to your vote, I've been advised by General Counsel we're not going to remove this, but there is a comment under item number 11B.
Yeah,
Mr. Adams.
11B, that contract was presented to finance, and the interim, there was discovered there was inadvertently 2 paragraphs that were required to be in the contract. One dealt with the boycott of Israel, and the other one was doing business with vendors from Iran and Sudan. Those are required state statutes to put that language in, and so we've advised the vendor those 2 paragraphs have been included, and they're fine with that. So
Nothing else material to the
that was
contract.
reposted on the agenda. It's
B and boy.
B is boy. It's B.E. Smith, Inc.
Right.
Okay. Other than that, you're fine.
And again, the consent agenda was provided previously. If you had any questions, we'd certainly take anything off at this time. If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval. I have a motion by Mr. Bose. Second by Mr. Emerson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much. I'll now move us to item number 12. Mr. Adams, I know you're going to cover A, and actually item 12B. We'll come back to it, but it also is going to be discussed and closed prior to any vote.
Consistent with your policy, this past month, there were 48 contracts that were negotiated on behalf of the district that were under $500,000.
Any other questions regarding legal? If not, that will bring us to the end of open session. We will have a closed session. We ought to take about a 5-minute break. I think we're going to be a little lengthy. If we can meet back here, let's just meet back here at 1:55. We stand adjourned and open. Thank you all very much. We will now reconvene back in open session at 2:35. We still have a couple of agenda items to address. The first one, we will go back and deal with item number 12B, in terms of engagement. I'll call on Mr. Petty for your committee's update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that JPS engage Montoya PLLC for legal services review as discussed in executive session.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second by Dr. Simmons. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much. Carries. And then also, as we do each month, we will now go to the item involving privileges. Dr. Hurd?
Yes, sir. We respectfully request that the board consider granting the initial and reappointments as discussed in executive session.
I'll take that as a motion. Is there any other discussion? I'd entertain a second. Second. Dr. Simmons on the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? Again, I thank you for your time and attention today, and we are now adjourned. Thank you.